Welcome to your best bets. 2 weeks from a very big event, the Super Bowl. But tonight we're going to be talking about golf, reviewing the Farmers Insurance Open, talking about a lot of live stuff from the Dubai Desert Classic from the past weekend as well, and previewing the Pebble Beach event this weekend, one of our favorites pro-ams to watch and enjoy. We'll get into that later. Joining me has been a couple weeks. Johnny Strouser is here. Johnny, what's new?
Good to be back on the show here after a couple weeks here. Our picks were kind of fading, so we had to kind of take a couple weeks here to regroup and everything like that. I want to talk quickly about the NFL though. Like it was just
Please.
weird yesterday. Conference championship. That's probably I think that's my favorite football day. My favorite football Sunday is those days because they're just such huge games. Once you get to the Super Bowl, it's like, hey, that's cool, and there's all sorts of other stuff. But you think
Yeah.
about it, the Eagles were the most deserving team out of the NFC, but the easiest freaking road ever to get to the Super Bowl. I think that was the worst collection of teams that they've had to play. Not, I don't want to take away against them making Super Bowl because I think they would have beat anybody to get to that point. But God, I mean, how easy can it get there to play the Giants, which are frauds, and then you've got San Francisco, which is probably a better team just on their, with their third and fourth quarterbacks and everything. And then you look at, the Chiefs, and I think they were the best team in the AFC, probably deserved, but how the Bengals just got jobbed with by the referees, and I don't like to bring that into it. And it is what it is. That's part of the game, but holy shit. I mean, that was just two weird things as you got two teams, both teams should have been there and they should be playing. And how they get there is just the craziest thing to me. But looking forward to one more game here for that we got nothing for 8 months or whatever. So I think it'll end up being a good game, and I'm sure you'll talk about it going forward in another show. But just thought that was interesting observation yesterday.
Yeah, really unfortunate with the Niners quarterback situation because I did think their roster stacked up, you know, at least even with the Eagles and maybe in a lot of spots better. And it's really one of the one of the evilest curses I've seen in a while is just not having a healthy quarterback to even compete in the game that matters the most. I thought, man, this will be Kyle Shanahan's masterpiece if he can figure out a way to get there with Josh Johnson in the second quarter when they tied the game. I'm like, can you just like you can hang your head on that forever and have a spot in the NFL no matter what your record is going forward. But then when he had his injury, you're like, what the hell do they do? So I don't know if I found anything out about the Eagles really. They didn't really have to do too much. Jalen Hurts didn't really have to do too much. And so that's that. And then yeah, you're not wrong about the Chiefs Bengals game. Um, it felt like every call went against the Bengals in the second half, from a phantom redo of third down to some pass interference calls, intentional grounding. I mean, all those were borderline, but it's kind of weird when every call goes against you. Maybe a missed block in the back on that huge punt return. They're late. Um, but yeah, I wasn't upset because I did have a parlay on the Chiefs Eagles. It did work out for me, so I kind of felt dirty with that Chiefs win. But yeah, if you're the Bengals today, you got to feel pretty pissed off. Or if you're a Bengals fan, I would feel pretty upset. Although it felt like two times they're late. They were in the catbird seat with the ball late, and I felt like they were going to drive and kick the field goal, but went the opposite way. You mentioned it's been a couple weeks since we recorded a golf show. I was feeling a lot like Joe Asai with my golf picks. The first 3 weeks just way off the map. We didn't make any picks for last week, but we both had success. So maybe it's best to not record shows, not put out picks, and we'll actually win. So um, I got to credit you. We were texting Tuesday, and we mentioned kind of who we liked, and you said you were on Homa, and I really wasn't on my radar. Um, So I did tail you. I didn't win as much as you, but it was at least something to salvage the weekend. Of course, my biggest bet was on a guy that missed the cut, Will Zalatoris. I felt so good about him, and that didn't work out. But Max Homa, uh, dude's got big balls. You can't deny that now. And what just a fascinating career he's really turning this into, from a guy that got on tour, couldn't make a cut, and then kind of the feel good, fun guy to root for on Twitter, and now he's just like a stone cold killer. And when he gets there in contention, he almost always wins. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that where guy doesn't really finish second or third. If he's in the mix on Sunday, he pulls it out. I mean, it's pretty incredible.
You know, it really is, and it's quite the story. And there's even more to that backstory. Like he was an NCAA individual champion at the University of California, Berkeley, back in the day, and turned pro, struggled a lot as a professional golfer, and he was in Corn Ferry playoffs, I believe it was, or whatever their qualifying school is. And he was down to his last like 9 holes, and I think he ended up birdieing his last 3 holes or 4 holes of that
Yes.
tournament.
Yes.
Ended up getting his status, and at that point just kind of took off from there. So just, I mean, he was really legitimately 2 or 3 shots from maybe quitting professional golf and being an insurance salesman or financial broker or something like that. And now the guy's got 6 wins. He's easily one of the top 10 best American players right now. And you're right. He's known now as the closer. I mean, he's got a really good golf swing. He masters it quite well, but he's got that great attitude though, that where he doesn't get down on himself and he just kind of focuses on that next shot, kind of like what Tiger always did. Tiger would hit a good shot, hit a bad shot, whatever, but he'd come in for his next one and it'd be a completely different thing. He'd have that new focus, that new readiness. And I think Max has kind of adopted that on some level and everything. But you look at all the names that were up there in this event. I mean, he started the day several shots back, and you had John Rahm playing in a late group, and you had Hideki Matsuyama and Kyle Morikawa, and this field was pretty solid, and he just
Yeah.
he just kept making good shots there. And Torrey Pines is a really tough golf course, and then you add it was only probably 55 degrees that day, so it just was kind of really uncomfortable. It was cold. They play at sea level, so the ball doesn't fly that far. And Max is just, he's not, and it's been a little while, but he's not just that funny Twitter personality, which, by the way, he is funny. If you have Twitter and you don't follow him, he's quite the listen. But he's developed into one of those guys that if he gets into contention like that, you feel pretty good about it. I mean, he was I think he caught the lead around the 11th hole or something like that. He made birdie. And the back nine at Torrey is really, really tough especially in that weather. But he birdies the par three 11th hole, and then hits a tee shot kind of squirrely on 14, way right, hits it short of the green, chips it up there, and misses about a 6-8 footer or something like that for par. Makes bogey to fall one back. Then comes back 2 holes later in this 230-yard par three directly into the sun. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of golfers listening to this have hit golf shots directly in the sun. You just don't feel comfortable doing it. Hits this 3-iron to 15 feet, closest shot of the day, buries the putt, gets the lead, and then birdies 18 to take the lead. And then he had some other things. Some other guys just couldn't quite meet up, make birdies, and they kind of faltered on the stretch. But I mean, you got to love the guy just for who he is and his attitude and his personality. But he's legitimately, like I said, he's got to be easily top 10 American players right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's what, 12 or 13th in the world ranking. So yeah, definitely validates that thought. Yeah, a couple thoughts on that just to piggyback on some of the things you said. He's just like, I think he kind of gets the rap of, like, you mentioned funny and engaging on Twitter, but like I did a lot of I read some stuff some interviews, and he's actually like a really big golf nerd, and he's a pretty deep thinker. He's got a golf psychologist, and he's really into the mental side of the game. And obviously, it's helped him um, because, and if you listen to him talk through some shots or post round interviews, just kind of his feelings. It's a lot of relatable things to stuff that we go through in local tournaments. But he does a really good job describing it in a relatable way to the normal person, and I think that's why he's got a big and growing fan base. I can't think of anyone that doesn't like him. I mean, he's one of these guys where he wins, everyone seems happy. He's not divisive in any way, and he just like I said, he just says all the right things, and you believe it because it feels genuine, and I think that makes him easy to root for. Um, I think I still have a hard time taking it seriously a little bit. I think it was we had the win at Riv a couple of years ago where we all benefited financially hugely from that. Where it was like, oh, okay, Max that's a nice story, nice underdog story, second win, his hometown event, that's awesome. And then for me, it was his fourth win, which was the Wells Fargo last spring, where I was like, okay, this is like it's pretty serious. Like he beat, um, you know, a pretty good field there. He grinded it out, an ugly win in the rain, and then he just keeps winning. I mean, I think I saw that since the start of the 2021 season, the only guy that has more wins is John Rahm. He's winning at a clip that's probably not sustainable, but it's an unbelievably impressive 2 year run, 2 3 year run here. So I myself, I think it was at the Fortinet in the fall event that he won, where he was the favorite, and you and I were like, oh my God, Max Homa's the favorite at an event. But that was the point where I'm like, okay, the books are starting to catch up and recognize like his win equity is really strong, and especially in weak fields, you've got to take it seriously because again, if he's there on Saturday or Sunday, there's a very good chance he's going to win this thing out. So I'm just really impressed by it, and I just can't wait to see where it goes. I would ask you what's the ceiling, but I ask that about every player after he wins. So I don't know what it is, but I think we all want to see him compete in a major. Really be there. The U.S. Open at LA Country Club feels like just a spot, right, for him to at least have a chance with his game. And he's one of those guys. I don't know what you think, but I can't pinpoint anything he does great. He's a pretty good driver of the ball. I think his iron play's been markedly improved. I mean, look at those birdies he made on 11 and 16 on Sunday, those par threes, which were playing incredibly tough. His irons into those holes gave him 15, 20 footers where no one was getting close. Um, and he's just starting to make more putts. So he just does everything really well and doesn't really have a weakness right now, it feels like.
No, I don't think he does. Yeah, he doesn't do, he does a lot of things very, very, very good and doesn't do anything that's really, really that bad. And when these guys, the tour life appears to be one of those things where you can't get too high and too low about your golf game. And we've all hit funks, whether it's playing recreational golf or any other sports or whatever it might be, kind of hobbies that we've got. You hit lows, and it's you don't want that to you don't want to dwell on it. You don't want to focus on it. You don't want to say, well, this is who I am. And I think that's a big thing there. I encourage everyone, and we both love the No Laying Up podcast. He was a guest on a recent show, and I actually listened to it uh, middle of the week there when I was flying down to Florida, humble brag. I downloaded and listened to it.
You just want to throw that in there.
I did, yes. So it was nice, but it's uh, very fascinating stuff. Like you said, he's a golf nerd. He's just like any golf fan like you or me, except he's just really ridiculously good at the game too. So, the way he thinks, the way he articulates, approaching a tournament, approaching a golf shot, is just really, really impressive. And what I did was, and I encourage anybody to do it, is yeah, he is from Los Angeles. His golf game fits what LA Country Club, where the US Open's at. I actually bet him in all three U.S. majors, so the Masters, the PGA, and the U.S. Open. I got him at about plus 4,600 or more for each of them. So I didn't throw. I mean, I threw a quarter unit bet on the on him, but if he has another win or if he comes in hot in one of these majors, I mean, that's the next step. And I think that's the next part in his evolution is he's proven he could win these tour events. He's won at tough golf courses in tough conditions against good fields. The next step is the major championship. So I think he kind of takes that personally. He talked about that in the podcast, saying, what, I don't really play in these very well, and that's my next step. And you know, we've talked about the floor, the ceiling, and everything like that. And I hope that he wins at least a major one day, and I hope it's soon. And I would, if I had a bet right now of over a half major in the next, let's say, 5 years, I mean, you'd have to take the yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to talk about he's still 36-1 today on FanDuel for the U.S. Open. I mean, really, really, I mean, at his games, he's shown that it can adapt to most courses at this point. You can still get him for the Masters at 50-1 on DraftKings today. If you like him for the Masters, I think we both prefer him for the U.S. Open, but let's see if his game can actually travel to a major. I think there's was some progression there last year, and yeah, to echo that, I listened to him on the No Laying Up podcast. He was actually on again. The episode they released reviewing the event, he was on again talking about a lot of these specifics, and he's just a great interview, and like we said, just fascinating to listen to. So can't be happy enough about the Max Homa development and really a true superstar in the making. What else from Torrey Pines? John Rahm. I mean, are we worried?
Are we worried about what? I mean,
I'm joking.
guy has a C plus putting game, for at least two of the days and ends up finishing top 10. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that you just got to, maybe we'll level off and we won't see the wins like right away here. So like when he's sitting at like plus 750 or plus 600 or something ridiculous, he might not be worth. He's a guy that you want to kind of stay away from. But there was some pretty good names that rose up and played pretty well. Colin Morikawa was in contention. I had a win bet on him as well. But Sahith Theegala, I mean, this guy just, he's better suited for the Poana Greens because he's a California kid. But he's played well in other ones there. But I got to think this win is coming soon. I got to think it's coming before, and maybe it might be in the fall season after the Tour Championship and everything like that. But just plays really, really good golf, and he's real consistent. I made the mistake, and I don't even probably not even thinking there. I should have bet him top 30 or top 40, and you got to almost do that every single week because if you can get him at plus money, I mean, it almost seems like an automatic bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to hand out wins very arbitrarily, but I was gonna say it feels like he's so close. And um I felt like two or three really slipped through his fingers last year, and his form looks great so far. I was gonna really echo Morikawa. I mean, I think this dude is very close to winning the tournament. Uh, I mean, how great he played in Hawaii to let that one slip away. But his ball striking is on point. Didn't feel like he could make a putt over the weekend. I just think, man, he's gonna pop, and you're still getting 18-1, 20-1 numbers on him. I don't know. He's not playing in the field this week, but I'm kind of back on the Morikawa train where it's like, okay, his iron play never went away, and we kind of talked about him maybe being the forgotten man. I mean, top five iron play still last year. It's just that putter. Um, what else? Sam Ryder. We talked about before we went live. It felt very Luke List like the way he was going about. I mean, really most of the week being the leader of this tournament and started to slowly fade in the front nine. on Saturday, and then you know just a couple swings on the back, but accounted for himself pretty well. I think maybe the more noteworthy thing were the purple joggers on Saturday. Um, I think it was the shoe choice. I liked the joggers. I didn't think the black kind of traditional golf shoes went with that. But I know like you know fat ass Mike on his couch with eating a bag of chips didn't probably like the choice. But progressive thinker. I like the joggers. What did you think of them?
I love the joggers. I would um I would sport those if I had the a little bit of a probably a better physique or less gray in the beard or something like that or whatever, because I think that's kind of I've reached I'm kind of past that age group that would wear those. The black shoes were not great for me. I just wish they were a couple the joggers themselves were a couple inches longer, maybe down to the ankle, covered the ankle a little bit. They felt a little too short, but love the color. And I used to
Mickelson didn't
be
like them. Mickelson had a problem with them.
Phil, Phil Mickelson, big fat Phil Mickelson, who wears the dumpy shirts and he's
Yeah.
got that leather face and the slicked back hair. And okay, that's good for
Phil,
Phil. But
Phil was busy on Twitter this weekend.
Phil was busy on Twitter. I hope we'll catch that in a second there. But the joggers though, I'm good with. You're right. Maybe a little bit more of an athletic and not like a classy
Yeah,
dressed up look. But
exactly.
these dudes, I love the hoodies. I love the joggers. Um, I used to be all traditional collared shirt with the pants, whatever. Now this is different. They're still respecting the game and they're still looking great doing it. I mean, these fits are just fine. I mean, I'm not surprised at the blowback on Ryder there, but
Yes,
it is what it is.
it is what it is. Keegan, um, I mean, sneaky second place finish. He won in the fall. I mean, this astounded me. I couldn't believe this when I saw it today. He's 21st in the world.
What?
21st in the world. Yes, he is 21st in the world. Um, I have this. I've been on the Aaron Wise for the Ryder Cup train for this year, but I just have this thought that Keegan might be the 11th or 12th guy on this team.
I don't hate that because I figured he was top 50, but I didn't think he was top 25 in the world there. But yeah, he just has, I think the win kind of validated a really good season that he had. He's just kind of compiled these times when he's been in contention and finished top 10, top 15. I mean, he legitimately had a chance to tie Homa on 18. I mean, he had a
Yep.
second shot in on the fairway there on Saturday, and he very well could have somehow sneaked into a playoff there. So playing good golf, he's figured out a comfortable way to putt it, and his ball striking's been great. I mean, he's driving the ball really really well. I would not doubt that maybe not in any of the elevated Florida events, but he's a Florida guy now. He's a South Florida guy that he ends up winning, like if he plays in like Valspar or Honda, something like that, because I think he can play tough golf courses pretty well. But it does it doesn't it wouldn't shock me to consider him strongly for the Ryder Cup, like you said. It's just whether Zach Johnson would kind of favor him over some of these younger flashier guys.
Went through the exercise yesterday because I think about the Ryder Cup all the time, but I feel like 10 spots are just already locks. Um, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but I mean, I feel like 10 are locks, and it's basically two spots. I just think how he competes, and we give him shit a lot, but I think he really loves to compete, really gives a shit, and he really has fought back from a lot. So you got to give him credit. And his ball striking usually gives him a chance in a lot of events. I
Yeah.
mean, he's such a good ball striker, and if he was even a halfway decent putter the last 5 years, he might have 8, 9, 10 tour wins. So I think he's just going to be around a lot this year. Anything else from the Farmers?
No.
Great. Oh, one last thing. Max with the really awesome kind of live, I don't want to call it interview, but live analysis on
Yes.
Friday was awesome. I loved it. Obviously, it was great because he went on and won the tournament, but on 13 Friday, you know, basically giving live thoughts on the process, on the second shot, this, that possible pitch shot he had around the green on 13, third. The whole thing was cool. I loved it. He's a perfect guy to do it. I hope we see more of it. And CBS as a whole was just awesome. They were awesome this week. The drone shots have become the next level thing for their coverage. Different cameras, different angles at different holes. Um, I don't love Tory. I love this event because it feels like the first big event of the year. But I thought CBS showcased in a way that made it really, really interesting, and can't wait to see if they keep it going. It's not going to be this week. It's not going to be this week, but like Riv's going to be. They could be some next level shit with all the stuff they're doing, with, especially the
Yeah, I mean I think they listen. I mean, they see Twitter, they see the complaints and everything. They had, a few too many commercials once again, but I think it's just something as golf fans, you just got to accept, and you just got to watch the playing through portions, and hope that some of these golf club companies, like in the first event, Callaway actually paid to not have commercials in the last hour of the event. So, that ended up working out well for Golf Channel and everything like that. But CBS is doing some good stuff. I like their announcers. I'm growing on them there. I'm kind of glad Faldo's gone. I like Immelman. Um, and it just seems Frank Nobilo seems to have gotten better, and uh, Dottie Peppers. Actually, I used to not be able to stand her about 3 or 4 years ago. I just thought that she was just not good at all, and she's. I think she's very good now. So,
game.
if they got to keep doing that stuff where they have more interactions, and the Max thing was awesome because you could, if you're you're a golfer, you're trying to soak in information, especially like we said, an intellectual guy like that, a golf nerd, you're going to kind of listen to him and see what his thought process is, and I look forward. I hope they do that as much as they can this season.
Yeah, yeah, innovative ways, and they're trying. I appreciate it. Um, there was a lot of things that happened um, in the DP world, the DP Tour event this week. It feels like Teagate happened like a year ago. It was what, Tuesday, Wednesday last week with the Pat Reed Rory thing on the range. You heard rumors of it, then you saw the video come out. The pressers after that were great. Um, and then just some of the golf things that happen. Of course, Rory wins, and probably with his B minus game, and you had a situation where Luke Donald was paired with Henrik Stenson during the events. Poulter was halfway in it, and Reed makes the charge on the last day. And he does this thing where he plays his best when there's a rules controversy around him. I don't know how he does it, famously with the Farmers 2 years ago the uh, with the drop there on number 10, and um, that whole situation. For some reason, I went back and watched that whole thing, the coverage on YouTube from that. The whole conversation with Brad Fable that day just made I was laughing. Can you mind if I stick my finger in there? You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. Shit like that. I'm like, that was unreal. But then I think people forgot he won by 5 after that, and of course we won money on that event. But Patrick Reed rules controversy. It's a guarantee he's going to play well and nearly win.
I was thinking about that, and I obviously didn't see it because it was the middle of the night, so ended up watching it on Twitter, watching it unfold there. So before we get to the T-gate thing. We could mention that or whatever, but the rules infraction. So it's a drivable par four. There's three palm trees, um, right of it's kind of in line between the tee and the green as the crow flies, but it's kind of a dog leg right, and he's going. He hits it right at the trees there, and hits it. And a lot of times these golf balls in these palms, they get stuck, and it just it is what it is there. So the camera gets it, and you can't quite like clearly see it, but you can see the streak of the golf ball flying to that first palm, right?
Yeah.
And then what did he do? He insisted upon the rules officials that it was lodged into the third palm tree. Is that what it was?
Yeah, and the rules official asked him to identify the ball through binoculars, and this is where it gets a little gray because he said, "Yeah, that's markings on my ball," and the official agreed to give him the unplayable from that spot. Um, it's a big deal because if he can't identify his ball, it's a lost ball. Um, and he has to go back to the tee and hit three compared to the unplayable right there. And it's obviously at least a shot. But so the DP World Tour, they officially agreed with Patrick Reed, but there's definitely a huge world of gray with the whole situation, because the video doesn't line up with where he took the drop. Brandel Chambly had a whole JFK assassination video where he's analyzing the physics of golf balls and how that was possible, and it's it's great content. It was great. Um, it just feels like this never leaves him, and will never leave him for whatever reason. I mean, this has been 4 or 5 situations over the course of his career when a normal player, maybe there's one of these at most.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't give himself the benefit of the doubt anymore with the public, with anybody that he really that knows him or anything like that. I mean, you've earned that title of just not being a guy that that you can trust. So, in that case, if in that, and I'm not just talking about golf, think about any situation. If you've got, coworkers or whatever that just don't feel that, they don't feel you're being upfront and stuff like that, you're gonna, normally you're gonna be extra careful as long as you respect them and everything like that. You're going to be extra careful to say this is, the process at which I'm going to do something. But this one, how he was so goddamn defiant that was his ball that he could identify with binoculars in this tree. What I played in junior tournaments like that, there was a couple situations. I remember there was one time it was my ball, a couple other times it was somebody else's, and they were in these even junior tournaments. We had USGA rules officials, and they would flat out be, if you cannot get that ball and identify it, then you're walking back to the tee. And the fact that these rules officials and everything just want to paint this picture that he, and believe him and everything is not. I mean, he cheated when he was in college. Who knows what he did in high school? Dude stole putters from his teammate's locker at the University of Georgia. Had to transfer to Augusta State, and for there he was okay. Cheated in, in the mini tours, and then he's had these instances where you can pretty, feel pretty comfortable in saying that what he's seeing as far as a potential rules infraction, which is not, and they look like they are, and he's just, you've got to be careful with yourself. And he doesn't care. He hates everyone so much, and he knows that they hate him. That it's just one of those things that he gets it into his brain that he's right, and that's it. And then nobody's putting a stop to it. And that's where you've got to either have a player, or especially the rules officials or the tournament committee, that's got to be like, you know what? No, we're not going to do this. We're not going to give Luke Donald. We're not going to give Rory a break. We're not going to give you a break either. And the golf rules, they've relaxed them in the last 2 to 3 years, but they were extremely strict. That even the least bit of controversy, you had to assume the worst of it. So if you couldn't totally identify the ball, or you maybe hit a ball out of bounds, And he said, well, maybe there's casual water over there. Maybe it went in the water. If you didn't actually see it and everybody in your group didn't see it, you had to go and re-hit and assume it was the worst possible outcome. And we haven't done that anymore. And I don't know why. I don't know if they're afraid that Reed and his team are going to sue him or something like that. And it's just ridiculous. And I could see like the thing with the Tory where he marked the ball and moved it. I could see giving him the benefit of the doubt, but this is just so egregious that being allowed to happen on such a major tour is befuddling to me, and it just makes me fully not respect the guy at all for just not reading the goddamn room. I mean, everybody knows you're a cheat, and if everybody says a certain thing about you know sport or about somebody or whatever, most of the time those people are right. And it irritates me that he's continuing to take use the rules to his advantage, and somehow they keep fucking letting him.
How dare you do this without Zach Fitzgerald here to defend his honor? How
I
dare
hope
you?
he doesn't watch this because he's gonna deliver a subpoena to me. I think whatever the next holiday
Yeah,
eve
I was.
is.
Yeah, we're going to need to redact some of this podcast to make sure we're in the clear because we're the next on the lawsuit list here. Um, I gotta say though, life is more entertaining with live guys around and in the field, and I'm glad. I mean, for one, I'm glad Liv's coming back. The schedule's officially out finally, and um, we can consume some of the ridiculousness, not the actual golf because I don't really care about that. But Mickelson, like I said, was busy on social this weekend talking about winning team or captain events. However, he said it was more difficult than winning a PGA Tour event. I'm like, come the fuck on, stop it. This
PGA
is
Tour
this is
thingies.
the
PGA Tour
thingies. I'm
thingies is
like,
what he called them.
this has gone to another level of ridiculousness, and I mean, I'm here for it, but now we didn't even get a chance to talk about it. The events being broadcast in CW, um, after reruns of Roswell or something like that, back to our high school days. Um, I just there's actually a lot of shit going on with Live the leadership. A lot of the upper echelon officials are leaving. I just read today that a lot more control has gone over to Greg Norman's hands. I don't know why. I don't know if that's great for the future of the tour. Um, there's the schedule I thought was pretty full. I mean, if these guys got to play every event, we're talking like 16 events. I mean, if you're talking about a Rory or a Rom, I mean, they play the full elevated schedule and their mandatory non-elevated schedule. I mean, they're playing just a couple more times than these live guys, and that was one of the allures of live was they could play less.
That was one of the lies that these golfers used, that they could play less. And that was horse shit from the start, and it just proves it. And they talked about expanding the schedule and everything like that. And yeah, it is pretty full. And I think that'd be a bigger fight if I was a live tour player, would be to get those world ranking points so I would get in these majors, because they're getting they're getting events in, they're getting rounds of golf in, and that's like we've always talked about. That's kind of the thing you need going into these major championships is good rounds, good competitive rounds. And I know we joke about them being competitive versus not competitive, but they are in their own unique way and everything. So, but yeah, it's a pretty full schedule, and they go overseas, they go to Australia and then to Singapore, and come back to the United States for a little bit. But they pack it in several weeks, and then I think they take the entire month of July off, or just about, and then kind of resume it and everything. But yeah, they're getting a lot of rounds in, and if a lot of them can get into some of the DP events, they're going to be playing pretty much a full schedule. So this is just kind of proving that the whole I don't have to play as much. It was just words and everything. But that is interesting though. Back to the management part of it. Yeah, a couple of their top guys had resigned And I didn't know. I had kind of assumed, but didn't really know much about the Greg Norman thing about him getting more power, because I think the only way that tour survives is for them to replace Greg Norman. But obviously, that's not happening if they're giving him more power. So you got to assume that that the higher ups that did end up resigning probably saw that coming. That Norman was probably in the room controlling a lot of the meetings and the conversations and everything, and that might help it, might not, might lead to their demise. Again, this is all about the Saudi public investment fund. If they want to continue to pay these guys, if they don't want to do it and they pull the plug, that's it. But it's never going to make money. It's never going to be overly successful. It's just this sideshow stuff that creates actually is kind of creating pretty good content. I don't mind that there is the DP World Tour that these Euro tour, or these live guys are going to, because that that T gate, with Rory and Pat Reed there, with him tossing a live golf tee at him after being ignored, it was just the good stuff. I mean, it wasn't like the actual physical incident. It was just Rory's face, which created just another wonderful gift that we can use now, in conversations.
Yeah, I just think I mean, I hate to, it's funny, you go back 8 months, 7, 8 months, where it was July last year, and we were like, oh man, this is like, there's a lot of momentum around Live, and kind of like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the future of the PJ Tour? And now I feel like months later, now I feel like the PJ Tour's got a lot of momentum, and Live is kind of stalled out. And it's weird to say it already in year two, but I feel like this is the pivotal year already. Where, I mean, right now it just feels like empty calories, as far as the spending and how much money they funneled into this thing, and literally nothing. There's no revenue, there's no money being made, and all the money they paid the players, and I mean, they've lost so much money. Again, it's not really a concern of theirs, but at some point it might be, and it might be the end of this year. I don't know. The thing is that all the interesting things about Live, they've done wrong. The teams, the live drafts, right now, or I'm well, what would have been the off season between October and now, like, if you want to say quote unquote free agency, rumors around guys changing teams. There's been nothing, and that was the interesting part of this whole thing was, these 4 player teams and player movement and um, ownership by the players. And you've heard absolutely nothing since that last event in October until maybe the schedule's dropped, and the only time you've heard anything from Live guys is when they've shown up on the DP World Tour to play like they have this week. I just think they've done all the interesting things wrong, and I will be fascinated to see where they are by the end of this season. I just don't see how this works out long term. And I think I predicted on one of the other podcasts, there's going to be a guy that's going to go to his agent and say, I want out of this. I and wants to come back to the tour. How will that work out? Someone like Joaquin Neiman. I mean, a guy that was on the verge of, really being a star on the PGA Tour, won a couple times, super young, super talented. I just can't think he'd want to be in this situation for the next however many years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, and potentially lock himself out of major championships. I just find that crazy, but I don't know how this is going to go. But that's just my thoughts on it, and I could be way wrong, and it could be hugely successful this year, and I just don't see a path. I may be wrong.
Well, hopefully they get that dog though, that loud music and stuff like that.
They do. They do.
That's
Yes.
something there. But yeah,
It's
I don't
golf
know.
but
It's
louder.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
you go up a louder, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right, and you never know. But I mean, I think the CW deal is actually far worse than the YouTube one, because I think at least people, whether they're at work or whether they're, just sitting on their phones on the couch or whatever, would turn it on to YouTube and actually watch some of the coverage and see how it was done. And, you know, I texted you weeks ago I didn't quite know what CW is. I know what it is now, but I don't know if I had that channel as a kid or didn't ever know it existed or whatever. And then now seeing the shows that were on it, it was like, okay, I probably had something like that. But a lot of people, I
Right.
mean, it's going to be harder to find. And, if you've got to download that CW app to watch it, I mean, I'm not going to do that. Are you?
Right. No, no. Yeah, there was a couple events that I did watch, checked it out at work. The
Yeah.
first couple, the Labor Day event where DJ one made that long putt. I mean, I watched most of that last round just because I wanted to give it a fair shot for a full day. And no, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it wasn't, it was whatever. It was something to have on Labor Day weekend, but I'm not going to go searching for it now. I'll find out who won, and then that'll be it. Yeah, I agree. I think this was worse for them as far as viewership, and I don't know if maybe this was strategic, where you heard so much about the viewership numbers after every event, and it was embarrassing, and at least now where they don't have to report those numbers. I'm not a Nielsen rating expert, though. I don't know how that all works, but I know YouTube was much easier to track as far as viewership, and it was bad. Um, are we closing the book on Live for this
Let
episode?
we could move on to Pebble here.
I see the clock is closing down already. So we got Pebble this week. It's the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Traditionally, it's just a slog of an event with the Pro-Am. Um, the celebrities from the 6 hour rounds to the television aspect of it. It's just they've ruined what could be a fun, interesting event with you always reference Larry the Cable Guy playing golf. Um, uh, you know, Historic, great golf course, Pebble, and the trio of courses, Monterey and Spyglass, and it's just this event just feels weighed down by the celebrity aspect, and they've lost the field strength has just weakened year by year by year. Um, it's kind of unfortunate.
It's got a tough spot in the schedule between Torrey and then you're right before you play Phoenix. And it's just like the Florida swing. There's always, there's a lot of great events and some of them are just going to have to suffer. I think a lot of these guys, they don't love 2 straight weeks on the Poana greens and then it's playing with the celebrity golfers, like you said. I am sure there's a lot that like to do that, but if you look at these top level golfers, if it's not a business venture for them, then they're just not really overly interested in doing it. So, I mean, you're talking Pebble Beach, one of the most scenic golf courses in the world there, and Spyglass is wonderful, and Monterey is that entire area looks incredible there. And it's unfortunate that they have to skip it, but it's just one of those things that because you play every week on the PGA Tour, you've got to find something there that these guys got to get their rest with. And I think it just makes it a convenient thing that these younger guys they're not overly interested in playing with the celebrity golfers. And I think unfortunately the field suffers along with it.
From a betting perspective, when you're looking at picking or betting a potential winner for this event, what is something you focus on? It's hard with the three courses, obviously, two on Pebble. Are you focusing on the course fit with Pebble, or is there just something that's vast that you can look at all three courses?
You've got to look at guys who putt on Poana well because they're all similar types of greens. None of the golf courses are overly long, so you don't need a bomber to play the golf course. Pebble Beach has the smallest greens as far as average square footage on the PGA Tour year after year. So you want guys who hit their irons well, or the guys who can scramble. And if you look at guys who've had success at it, you see guys with good short games. I mean, you look at Phil Mickelson has won here a whole bunch of times. Jordan Spieth always had success. Marco Mira was actually an underrated short game guy. He's won here like 6 times, 5 or 6 times, something like that. So you don't really need, it's not just a bomb and gouge. Because of the golf course is old enough where it's got the big trees and the weird angles and the
Right.
really grassy faced bunkers and everything that you don't need to hit driver all the time. It's kind of a more of a thinker's golf course. And Spyglass is probably the toughest of the three, requiring a little bit more length, but it has that same kind of similar traits to get around it. And Monterey seems to be, don't really know much about that because they don't have cameras out there, but seems to be that same type of thing there.
Which is
I'd love to see
unbelievable.
Monterey. I'd love to see the other golf
I know,
courses.
unbelievable in 2023. We can't get cameras out there. I mean,
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
So
I love a good bomb or two as a winner, and we talk about where to pick your spots in the schedule. Well, this is one of those events where it's kind of your stars and scrubs that have won here. Going back to 2016, you've had three guys that are literal bombs and three guys that are kind of the star category. At 2016, Vaughn Taylor wins at 300 to 1. Spieth and 17 at 9 to 1. Ted Potter Jr., the year he took down Dustin Johnson at 500 to 1,
the DJ
2018.
Slayer.
500 to 1. I can't remember a longer number um, just from a betting perspective. Phil in 2019 at 25 to 1, Nick Taylor in 2020 at 160 to 1, Berger in 2021 at 18 to 1, and even last year, Tom Hoagie really started his ascension last year here when he was 66 to 1. So again, if you look at the last 7 years, you've had four guys over 60 to 1 win. You've also had some top guys win. So it's tough to pick it out, but I guarantee you, I think last year one of us picked Andrew Putnam at 80 or 90 to 1, and he was there on the weekend, and you're gonna have a guy or two that's close
Yeah,
with that number.
you did. You had Putnam, and I think either last year or the year before I picked Lashley, and Nate Lashley almost won it. So I
That's
mean,
right. That's right.
there's some guys out there.
So to talk about the board here, and by the way, Justin Ray gave the stat that Jordan Spieth is the all-time leader in, I think, scoring average here, the minimum of 15 rounds. So we mentioned Spieth; he usually plays well in this event. He's the co-favorite, at least on DraftKings, with Matt Fitzpatrick at 11 to 1. Victor Hovland at 12, Mav McNeely at 20, Hoagie at 22, Seamus Power at 22, and Andrew Putnam at 28 to 1. So we got seven guys under 30 to 1. That's usually our cutoff for the top echelon of players. Let's talk about Spieth. Last time we saw him was at the Sony when he went from first round leader to miscut. He pulled a Keegan, and it was kind of an odd circumstance because we really felt kind of good about him after the first round, and to see him kind of kind of fade so quickly in the second round was a little jarring. But that might be what Spieth is now. I don't know. But 11 to 1 here this week. Can you pull the trigger?
I don't think I can pull the trigger at 11 to 1. Now I don't dislike him, but that second round at Sony really concerned me. I think he really embraces though this format though. He's an AT&T guy, so this is kind of his is a big deal for him. He's entertaining a lot of people, and he's trying to uh he's trying to play well for them. And I can't think of who his partner normally is, but um the country singer
Oh,
usually
country guy. Yeah, yeah.
he's a pretty good player, so I think they actually kind of feed off each other a little bit there, and they've got that comfortable kind of pairing and everything. So I don't dislike it. I'll shift over to the other favorite of Matthew Fitzpatrick. I do like him a lot more. Um, I don't like a lot of these numbers, and I'm not usually a bet the favorite type of guy at the top there, but played pretty good at the first event at the Century. I think his golf course fits him so good. These golf courses, but I think Pebble's good. I mean, he can obviously hits it far enough, and he's a good iron player, good short game and everything. Don't love the number, but like DraftKings right now, they've got an opt in where you could add plus 300 to any winner. So Yeah, I'll bet him at. I'll probably add it to him and make him one of my bets at plus 1,400. Don't hate either one, but if I'm looking at the two, I'm going to go Matt Fitzpatrick this week.
Yeah, I would think the next step for Fitzpatrick is winning more PGA Tour. I think
Yep.
incredibly impressive season last year with the U.S. Open, but still hasn't had a ton of success overall winning on the PGA Tour. So this feels like this and Harbour Town, what I was talking about with Fitzpatrick, feel like just perfect fits. I'll probably avoid both Fitzpatrick and Spieth. I might see where Spieth's at after the first round if we can get him a lower number, plus 2,000 to 3,000, maybe somewhere live. Probably from the top, the only guy I'm going to bet pre-tournament is Tom Hoagie, 22. I think that's pretty good. He is still, I think, maybe a top 10, 15 iron player on tour. You talked about the small greens, especially at Pebble. We've seen how dialed in he can get with his irons. And to me, it kind of comes down to the putter. And I've got a decent amount of faith in Hoagie. Um, Seamus Power, was this the tournament? Was it last year where he led by like 3 or 4 after like the 36 hole mark? And maybe that was
Yes.
2 years ago. It was like, oh my God, Seamus Power is going to win, and it didn't work out. But um, not a
Led by
terrible number
five.
on
He led by
5.
5 at one point.
Felt like a runaway. So I don't think it's a terrible number on him either. I think Andrew Putnam's unbettable at 28 to 1, even though profiles really well.
Yeah.
Um, 30 to 50, we have Matt Kuchar, Keith Mitchell, Justin Rose, Joel Damon, Danny McCarthy, Scott Stallings, Alex Smalley. And 50 to 1 is Thomas Dietrich, Taylor Pendrith, and Dean Burmeister. Um, when I was looking at the board earlier, Johnny, it was like I didn't find a ton of differentiation from this range to the 70 to 100 range. So I don't know how busy I'll be in this range. I did bet Justin Rose last week to win, and he played pretty reasonably. I think he finished top 30. So I'm mildly interested in him, but outside of him in this group, I don't really have a lot I love.
I'm going to agree with you there. Justin Rose is actually not a bad pick. Played solid, made the cut and everything, and he's had some played well in the U.S. Open here the last time that they had it. So I mean,
That's
there
right.
is some good course memories and everything, and he just seems to be maybe he's trending a little bit to play a little bit better at 35 to 1 though. I don't know. I mean, I might look at him in like a top 20. I did bet him top 40 last week, and ended up cashing in on that. So maybe something like that to carry over the good play from last week. There. The other guys that I would consider, but I probably won't bet on is Joel Damon. He's not, I don't know form wise how he's going to look, but I think his son was just born not long ago. He's Max Homa's good buddy. I like to ride those motivational things where maybe he's going to follow up with some good play. And I don't hate Denny McCarthy this week, but I don't love it. If I'm being forced to kind of pick any of those guys, those are my three. But I kind of would save your money here and look a little bit further down the list.
Justin Rose last week when I told you I bet him to win at 66 to 1. You wrote Justin Rose, and I said yes. So at least you followed it
I
in some
did.
fashion.
No, no,
Um,
okay. So quick story about that. Quick story about that. You did text me that, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go bet him top 40. Well, I was in. I was busy. I was doing whatever. I was on my phone, whatever, and I hit top 40 and bet, and then it posted, and I'm like, shit. I bet Keegan Bradley. And I was like, and I
hmm,
couldn't cash it out. So I'm like, well, let's go Keegan and then Justin Rose. So I was kind of happy. I
that
actually
worked
hit
out. That
both of
worked
them
out. That
at
worked
plus
out.
money.
That worked out. Well, Keegan was at plus money for top 40 last week.
Yeah,
No,
top
that's
40 or top. It had to be.
that's
I'll
pretty
have to
good.
look at that. But yeah, it
That's
was
pretty
it
good.
was
Yeah,
in the same odds. But
that's
anyways,
pretty good. Um, over 50. Um, 50 to 100. Some notable names in here. Um, who's notable in this group? Oh my God. Kurt Kitayama, 61. Kurt had a great year last year. Davis Riley. Um, we love Davis Riley. I don't know if we love him this week or this season so far, but he's at 65. David Lipsky at 70. He played really
Yeah.
nicely a couple weeks ago. My one of my favorites and go-tos, Russell Knox at 75 to
Yep.
1. Callum Tarrant at 75. He's had a nice run for a while. Uh, there's Lanto, Grayson Sig. You just have a conglomeration of dudes here. Those names, or anyone outside of those names, I'm sorry, that's what I meant to ask.
Um, I I know he's one of your, but Nick Taylor again. He finished well. He played well in Hawaii. Um,
Yeah.
65 to 1's a good number, and I think I'll throw a little bit on him. I do like this group. I like a lot of the guys you mentioned. I know I mentioned Nick Hardy before in the preseason there.
No.
Not sure if I'll bet him yet because he hasn't really emerged yet in this wintertime season, but a good number there. I was going to mention Russell Knox because it could be windy. He's Scottish. That's what they do there. They just play in the wind. So he's always been a pretty good wind player there. So he's another guy that I like. Um, I might have to jump on the Bo Hostler train.
Ooh,
Um,
ooh.
I
It's a
would
tough.
say
It's a
that,
rocky road.
yeah, it is. But the only thing is, I will say on him is if you're not, who's going to be fully committed on Bo Hustler. But if you're not, he just switched from TaylorMade to Titleist, and so he switched golf balls. And when guys switch golf balls, there is a lot of um, that feeling out period. I know they do it in practice a lot, but once you get in tournaments, though, but Bo Hostler is always a favorite of a first round lead, and he's switching
Always.
to
Yeah.
a better golf ball. So I'm saying the better equipment is gonna work. So maybe not this week, but keep him in mind.
He did finish third last year in this event. That was he had two chances I thought to win this one and Valero last year when I did bet him to win, but um, Bo Hostler has always looked so much older than he actually is. Going back to when he was an amateur at
Texas.
that 2012 U.S. Open when he was in high school,
Oh yeah, yeah.
at Olympic when he looked like he was 28, and now he's what closer to 30. Now he looks 45. Just I know on Bo Hostler. Yeah, Hostler there. I like Russell Knox in these kind of short course events where iron plays a bit of a premium, where his length's not a big deal. He's got a reasonable record here at Pebble. He's got a slew of top 25 finishes. His form is total garbage, though. In fact, I don't think he's had a top 20 since the Charles Schwab last year. So I don't know if I feel good about that. I want to like Nick Hardy like you. I just haven't seen anything good really this season. Will Gordon, I'm always interested in. Doesn't feel like a Will Gordon course though. Um, tough range though. SH Kim, I don't know anything about this guy, but he's always on leaderboards.
He is, isn't he?
He's always on, and then I'm always like Siwoo. I'm like, no, wait, that's SH. So I know he came from the Corn Ferry. He was a graduate, but I don't really know a lot about his game. But I've seen him a lot on leaderboards, and might need to look closer at that as we go forward. The guy I was going to talk about was Callum Tarrant. Callum Tarrant has had a nice run through the fall. I think he was runner up at RSM in the fall. There's at least some at least decent similarities, I think, as far as shorter course. He just finished 25th at Farmers. I think his form's reasonable. So count Tarrant at 75 to 1, probably my one, at least one play in there for this week. 100 to 1 and above. Um,
Mm.
a lot of choices. No Kenny Pickman in the field this week, like we did 2 years ago. Um, I always have to do a double take. We talked about it the last time we recorded, but Webb Simpson at 100 to 1, I kind of have to do a double take.
I the problem is I don't think the value's there. I mean, it's just for a Ryder Cupper major champion who just was an unbelievable putter and iron player. What, 2 or 3 years ago during the COVID stretch? I mean, he was he was so good, but
So
he can't make cuts, and it's kind
um,
of remarkable. I mean, I don't know.
in
It's one of
fact,
those things that I think if you keep betting him, yeah, it'll pay off and he'll have a top 10 finish or top 20. But I don't know what his previous finishes, his last like 10 finishes are, but I can't imagine that they're
it's
anything.
bad. It's really bad. In fact, he didn't have a top 10 all of last season. His best finish was a 13th at
Oh
Travelers.
my God.
He's missed the cut in 4 of the last 5. It's really bad. I'm gonna bet him this week though.
You're gonna bet him
I
this week.
I am betting him at 100 to 1. Yes, yes. I am. I just. What about Kisner at 100? That feels low.
It does feel low. I don't think his game is anywhere
I mean, he
near
was a
where it was a few
he was a
years ago.
President's Cup player.
Jesus. Yeah, that's true. That's a factual statement. I don't know. It's just that number does. It's kind of remarkable to see a guy who generally has been that good like that as well, like Webb Simpson and Kevin Kisner. But I mean, I don't think his course record's been
I don't
very much
remember
here at
him,
this event.
showing up.
Yeah.
Anyone you circled?
You know, this has always been until last year. I did actually bet him last year not to win, and don't bet this guy to win. But Kevin Streelman just loves this event. This is
It's
his.
true.
Him
It's
and
great.
Larry Fitzgerald will be going balls out
That's right.
here to win this event.
Mm.
Why did I know that him and Larry Fitzgerald were partners?
Such an odd pairing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
How
It
did that happen?
Well, I saw they interviewed Larry Fitzgerald, the Golf Channel did during when I had a day off, and they're both Whisper Rock guys out in Arizona. And
Okay.
Streelman just went out one day and just was like helping them out, and then they started playing golf all the time, and then they were
Hmm.
bros now. So,
They're
but anyway,
bros. Yeah.
but Streelman maybe in a top 30, top 40, top 20 maybe. I mean, he used to be a top 10 machine here. Really has had
Yes.
a pretty good track record. His game is not good enough to win an event, but like this fits him, and if he gets those irons going, he's actually a pretty good iron player. So that's why he generally plays his golf course pretty good there. So I like him in that kind of a finish. Harry Hall. Um, I've kind of not been I've kind of passed on him quite a bit here lately, but or kind of since he got his card and everything. But I think this weather that could potentially be, and I don't know what the weather forecast is. So it's, but at a number like at a 9 to 1 for a top 10 or something like that, I think he's definitely worth looking at. Garrick Higo finally, yeah, he's a good player. He finally started played good last week here, so maybe he'll carry that good play there. And did you see Jimmy Walker?
Okay. I was gonna talk
I'll
about
let
Jimmy
you.
Walker.
You always bring up Jimmy Walker, so I'll
I
let
did,
you.
and I was seriously gonna do it. I normally it's our running joke, but he's a past winner at this event. Um, Jimmy Walker finished 13th last week at Torrey Pines. He played with John Rahm on Friday, and I was like, "Wait, are they paired together with Jimmy Walker?" Um, I'm not saying Jimmy Walker's going to win, but 130 to 1, I would assume his top 20 number is probably somewhere in the plus 4 to 500 range. Um, I, from 2011 to 2014, he didn't finish outside the top 10 in this event. He won in 2014. Um, yeah, it's worth something to look at. I gotta give you credit on the Streelman play. Streelman from he missed the cut last year, but from 2016 to 2021, he didn't finish outside the top 20. So Kevin Streelman for a top 20 is plus 400, and that's a great call by
That's
you.
great
And
value.
that's yeah, I mean recency. He just loves this golf course or this tournament, I should say. Um, gosh, I don't really. Disappointingly, I don't really have a lot in this range. Austin Eckroat at 180, but I don't think we've seen a lot from him since he just got his card, right? He was a Corn Ferry graduate, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, he's kind of the forgotten man from those Oklahoma State teams. Um, I really don't have a lot to talk about past 100. What Webb and I like the Streamline play. Past that, I think we're just really throwing darts.
Yeah, I think this one right here is if you like live betting,
Hmm.
write down a bunch of these names, guys that sound good, and look to see if when they play Spyglass Hills. That's the toughest golf course of the three. Monterey is the easiest, and the guys who play Pebble on Saturday because they get two straight rounds of Pebble. That's kind of that's usually generally for the bigger uh, uh, amateur stars. So, but
Yeah.
if they play well at Spyglass the first day, they're definitely worth a live bet because they've got the hard round of golf um, out of the way. So if you're going to take anything from this, look at that and definitely look at the golf course rotation because I think that's where you can get a lot of really, really good value is if the books don't pick up on it that if Spyglass is already out of the way, then they've got easier golf courses coming up.
It's a good call. And with multiple courses, I've found live betting, there's some really wonky odds.
Yes.
And they're slow to update on certain books. And you can really grab a good long number on a guy that's 10th, 20th, but he's playing the easier golf course that day. So I'm with you. I like that. I just saw Doc Redman at 300 to 1, but
Man,
it's just wishful thinking.
it is.
Wishful thinking. Hank Lebioda at 400. Remember, was it 2 years ago? Hank Lebioda went on that
Yes.
insane, that
Just
insane
top
run.
10 or top 20 him
Oh my
every week.
god,
He was just a machine.
crazy! Oh my god.
I wish I could bet.
Um,
I wish I felt better about this week. Is Doug Gim? I like him as a player,
uh,
but just there's been nothing. There's been no signs of life for months out of Doug Gim, and I think that just kind of stinks.
all right, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week on CBS, and we'll check it out, and hopefully we'll be back next week to talk about it. Johnny, thanks for joining. Hope you have a great week.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to your best bets. I don't know if we'll have another show this week, but next week will be Super Bowl week. We'll at least have one show for props and one show to talk about the game. So that should be fun. Um, enjoy your week. Enjoy the end of this miserable January weather as we get closer to spring. So thanks for listening. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and our picks this week. See you next time.